In 1985, Rod Daniels' US fantasy comedy Teen Wolf became, despite moderate reviews, a surprise hit, making it cost of $4 million, $80 million worldwide. In the following year, this led to 2 seasons of a 21-part animated series with 30-minute episodes. I didn't get through 5 minutes of it. A remake disguised as a sequel in 1987, another TV series in 2011, and another feature in 2023. 17-year-old schoolboy Scott, a kind of undersized loser with little self-confidence, suddenly turns into a werewolf, like his father once did, but who kept it a secret from him. He uses his new magic superpowers in a basketball game, becomes popular at school, and starts dating his dream girl. After an argument with her friend, he lets himself go and almost injures him, which is why he no longer wants to transform, and now realizes that almost everyone only sees him as a wolf. But he prevails, remains human, even scores the decisive points in the final game, and decides against his dream girl, presumably the fantasy element here, in favor of his sandbox friend Boof. This harmless, fairly entertaining comedy, much better than you would expect, doesn't have much to do with werewolves, but is about growing up, and works surprisingly well thanks to the back then new and unusual story with likable characters, especially Michael J. Fox. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Christopher Leach's alleged sequel. The exact same story, with a new cast except for 2 supporting roles, is about Scott's cousin Todd, who receives an athletic scholarship thanks to his famous werewolf relative. His coach hopes to use his werewolf superpowers to help the boxing team win. The unbearably silly, unfunny joke parade is an almost one-to-one rehash of the first one, in worse, which I mysteriously saw in the movie theater back then, although I wasn't even a fan of part 1. Really strange, I have no rational explanation for it. The flop rightly got negative feedback across the board. It's one of the most unpopular sequels ever, and at an estimated cost of $4 to $7 million, didn't even make $8 million in the US back. The US fantasy drama MTV series Teen Wolf aired from 2011 to 2017 in 6 seasons, actually 9, since 3 seasons contained twice the number of episodes, with 140-minute episodes. 40 of them and the movie were directed by Russell Mulcahy. See also Highlander and the same-named retrospective, who was also a producer, and has, apart from a few names, nothing to do with the 1985 original. In the a bit simple-minded but still quite entertaining college teen love triangle relationship drama with very good effects for TV, outsider Scott, who lives with his mother/nurse and after school works in an animal clinic, whose boss turns out to be a druid, unlike in the original film, does not inherit the curse from his father, but is attacked on the road with his best friend Styles, the sheriff's son, in the forest by an alpha werewolf, recognizable by his red Terminator eyes, who is determined to take him into his pack and terrorizes the town in the process. And unlike the 1985 comedy, tries to keep his condition a secret. Although the series has comedic elements, it deals with dark themes, including violence and gore, and is sometimes unintentionally funny, due to the illogical behavior of the characters. Mixes wildly movie quotes, there are borrowings from Twilight Zone, Buffy, Supernatural, Nightmare, Hellraiser, Star Trek, Indiana Jones, etc. Myths and cliches. The almost omniscient druid is often the explanator 2000. Lydia sometimes has practical plot-generating seer-like abilities, and often simply pulls rules, strengths and weaknesses out of the head as the story requires. Scott notices after the attack that his body develops strange abilities, and that he turns during full moon into a werewolf with supernatural strengths, which make him the new lacrosse star of the school, probably the fantasy element here, as if anyone cares about stupid lacrosse, a type of field hockey where the sticks also have nets. Falls, according to the script, in love with Allison Argent, descendant of a long line of werewolf hunters who you don't believe for a second can fight or act, who discovers during the first season her family history and his werewolf side. Scott learns a lot about controlling his abilities from Derek Hale, a native purebred werewolf. Among other things, these have, besides magical self-healing powers, the convenient ability to relieve events at crime scenes, for example, or something like that. teeny wolf has striking similarities to the 2001 comic book Superboy series, which ended after 10 seasons in the release year 2011. As in Smallville, the magic abilities are treated like superpowers. In the case of undesirable side effects, sometimes like a burden. See also X-Men. There is a, by whatever means, chosen Samaritan figure who does not kill on principle. In Smallville, Clark, thanks to superpowers, later becomes Superman. Here, Scott, thanks to script powers, later becomes the true Alpha. Alphas are pack leaders classified by the first letter of the Greek alphabet, who normally ascend by killing an alpha, who is destined for greatness and constantly tries to help the less than perfect. Werewolves can also, no joke, relieve pain by laying on hands, just like Jesus, or read minds through Spock's Vulcan grip, of course, digging fingernails into the neck. Their kryptonite includes certain substances such as moonstone, wolfsbane or mountain ash. And there's an almost omniscient rich villain faction operating in the background, seemingly responsible for many things, with generational conflicts. In Smallville, Lex Luthor's family. Here, the Argent Hunter family, sometimes a friend, sometimes the enemy. The setting is the fictional Northern Californian town of Beacon Hills, which teenage werewolf Scott McCall defends together with his friends, similar to Clark and Friends Smallville, against supernatural creatures and other threats. And as usual, accompanied by the horrible yowling that was playing on MTV at the time as a music replacement product. At the end of the first season, Derek kills the head wolf / evil Uncle Peter. Until then, in contrast to the yellow-eyed Scott, blue-eyed Beta, because the eyes turn blue as soon as you kill an innocent, and thus becomes the red-eyed Alpha himself. In the second season, we learn that the lone wolves without a pack are despairingly referred to as Omega, after the last Greek letter. Derek recruits new werewolves for his pack, but shows weakness in leadership, and Uncle Peter manages to come back from the dead and helps to defeat Allison's unscrupulous, manipulative grandfather, also to stop a reptilian creature. Allison's mother dies, who then breaks up with Scott, and his mother learns that he is a werewolf. In Season 3, werewolves, for whatever reason, can have upgrades and downgrades between Alpha, Beta and Omega, depending on what the script needs. There are also two that show up that are able to combine into a big one. Transformers style? Sure. Here, a pack of Alpha werewolves, so just leaders or what? Led by an Alpha, try to recruit Derek and Scott, while there are murders and kidnappings by a renegade druid, which is why Scott is forced to join their leader Deucalion, and turns to the power of the script, sheer strength of character of course, into the real Mary Sue, super duper Alpha, which only happens every 100 years or something. Afterwards, Styles is possessed by an evil spirit, and Allison dies in the final fight. At the beginning of season 4, Derek, by his ex Kate Argent, Allison's evil hunter aunt from season 1, killed by Peter, who, for whatever reason, turned into a were-jaguar, is temporarily turned, no idea how, into a teenager, where he still trusted her. To get, as it turns out, a useless medallion, and to reset his eye color from killer blue to yellow? Scott and friends are being hunted by hitmen, as someone with a death list has stole millions of the heads of all Supernatural. After a fight with the masterminds, Peter and Kate, Kate escapes and Peter is sent to a special secret asylum for Supernatural, the Eichenhaus. Eichen is the German word for oak, by the way. In season 5, so-called dread doctors who strive for the perfect whatsoever appear and artificially transform test subjects into supernatural hybrids who commit murders unknowingly. One of these is a 250-year-old French werewolf, the first ever, which the previously unkillable dread doctors fall victim to, before defeated by a hellhound. At the end, a defrosted German Nazi lion werewolf soldier scientist makes his way from a horror lab container to the final season. Here, people disappear without a trace, along with other people's memories of them, at the hands of evil ghost riders. At the same time, the Nazi werewolf goes about his business unrecognized as a new teacher. Manages, I have no idea how, to control the evil riders, but is absorbed by them in time for the mid-season final. Again, no clue why. From then on, they have to deal with the whole town, which has been turned against all things supernatural by a creature which can be defeated by Scott in the end. The 2023 feature is nonsensically set 15 years later, so 2032 or what? After the friends parted ways, Scott now runs an animal shelter in LA next to the Druids Animal Clinic. There in the introduction, the Nogitsune that possessed Styles season 3, who doesn't appear here as the actor probably cancelled, is freed from his prison. And with visions leads Allison's father to suspect that his dead daughter, also season 3 / Scott's girlfriend at the time, now conveniently single again, he's actually with the were-coyote, who is now apparently walking the hellhound, isn't really dead yet. He returns to Beacon Hills with him and gathers almost the entire old troop to help Allison cross over into the afterlife with a ritual at the magic tree. I mean the Nemeton, of course. She suddenly appears and the Nogitsune materializes unnoticed, flees with practical selective memory loss, and the evil spirit encourages her to hunt Scott and friends out of revenge for whatever. While his Oni / ghost samurai are making people go up in smoke for his game / kidnapping them into his illusionary world. Teen Wolf, the movie, absolutely assumes you have seen all the TV episodes. But even if you have, hardly anything makes sense in this half-hearted nostalgia parade. The story seems very contrived, and that's saying something here, and the effects don't look as good as they used to. The almost 2.5-hour reunion, which feels more like 3 hours of detention, got mixed and rightly so, mostly negative feedback. Can't reproduce the fun or charm of the series at any time, and probably served as a poor reboot attempt that failed miserably.